All right, guys, so our final topic here. Again, spoiler warning. This is going to be a spoiler-filled discussion of The Falcon and Winter Soldier Episode 4, which right off the top, I'm going to say was probably my favorite episode of the whole series so far. I thought the ending was good. It was very good. We unfortunately, though, we didn't get any more Zemo dancing. So that was the only detractor of this episode. But Zemo's been great. I'm gonna say that off the top. I've loved Zemo in this whole thing. I don't know about you. What have you thought before we get into it too much about like the complete I mean, it's clearly been a what am I looking for? A retcon, if you will, of the Zemo character in some ways. Like not in like a bad way. Like not in a very like I mean, it's a kind of on the nose way, but not in a way that is completely almost like you know how like they did Luke in the sequel trilogy and it was like just so not in Luke's character what they did. This you didn't really have any with Zemo in Civil War. It's not like they 100% establish him to be this one way, and then now he's not, so it's like jarring. This is just like, all right, they didn't really, say that he was a rich baron, and he was never really kind of as funny as he is in this, and like, but it's fine, it works. I mean, have you liked the Zemo character and what they've done with him throughout?
I have. I'll say that the tone of the character, for lack of a better way to put it, is a little different. I actually thought of this. It's interesting to bring this because I thought of this the last time when I was watching this latest episode. Um, Zemo cracks some jokes and stuff in this series, and so I think that I've liked the character. I think they're doing a good job with him. I feel like in Civil War they gave you motivation for why Zemo was doing what he was doing, but there really wasn't a whole lot of character development. There also wasn't really a whole lot of time for character development with the character of Zemo.
They were doing a
Zemo.
lot, yeah.
Yeah, there was so much else going on. He was the catalyst that was the rationale or the reasoning behind everything else that was going on. But that was his role to play in that film. In this, they're able to do a little more with him. He didn't appear in the first episode at all. He gets mentioned at the end of the second, right? He gets
Yeah, I
mentioned
think
at the
so.
end of the second. You get that one quick shot of him. So we've only had him for 2 episodes so far, and he's been great. I mean, he's been some humor. He's also still got that kind of one track determination that he had. But in Civil War, he was so bereft by the loss of his family that he was very very serious all the time, and so the tone of the character is a little different. Now, we're also in a world where the blip happened, and so we're 5 years removed, or more than 5 years removed from the events of Civil War. So maybe there's some softening of the character, or some softening of that sorrow and anguish that he felt. Not softening of his determination to prevent it from ever happening again, but still, it's been an interesting. It wasn't quite the take on the character I expected. That doesn't mean it's bad. I've actually enjoyed it quite a bit, and I like what they've done with him. I think he's still they're showing him as a kind of a manipulator, which is a good role for him to play. I'm really wondering. I thought for sure, and I'm jumping ahead, but I thought for sure we were going to see him get superpowers this week to kind of make it more in line with
That
what the
was
comic version was.
that was a thing. That's the thing. That was actually something that I was speculating myself because yeah, in the comics he does get the serum at some point in some iteration, and but they've set up because that's the one thing that like even though they've changed like kind of his personality a little bit, we'll say like retconned that.
Hmm.
Um, they his character motivations have stayed true to
Yeah,
what they were in Civil War, and that's kind of been he is so against, like, becoming well, he's so against, like, super soldiers and superheroes, and, like, that's what they've established, and they've stuck with that, so that was a real, like it was something I was curious of what they were gonna do, right? Because, like, was he going to become the thing that he hates
yeah.
to further stop to better combat? Because that's a classic thing that always happens, like, you must become the thing that you hate, I mean, whatever. In order to destroy and whatnot. So it's like, were they gonna do that, or were they gonna keep, consistent with his character motivations and like what he's been was doing? And they've obviously they've gone that route. So that was I kind of liked that. I think it's more in tune with the character and what they've established it to be. And then they even had that scene where he asked Sam, like, "Would you take the serum if you could?" And Sam immediately answered no as well.
Yeah,
So like it kind of gives us another. That was another thing people were kind of speculating. Would like in the end, would Sam end up actually getting the serum and then like truly being like Captain America at that point,
sure.
truly, which my whole thing with the Captain America thing is like Captain America is Steve Rogers. Like that's you can put on the costume and you can put on the shield, but that doesn't make you Captain America. And that's even what Bucky and frickin' Sam say. Like they essentially, and not that blatantly, but like that's their point with it. Like, it's like that's why Sam didn't want to keep the shield because he wouldn't live up to what Steve Rogers was.
Mhm.
So it doesn't make I'm curious of how they're gonna get Falcon to actually, like, do the thing, like, put on the Stars and Stripes suit, because we know that's coming. If you've seen the toy leaks, you know that's coming, and, like, I'm curious of what's gonna make him change.
Oh, I think we got it at the end of this episode.
Here's the thing, we can jump forward to the end here with it, but, um,
I
w
mean,
w
we can wait. We can
no,
play
no,
it
no,
out if
I'm
you
good with
wanna.
it, because I don't
Okay.
wanna forget the train of thought. Like, I think, honestly, when this happened, I don't think I think the government's just gonna back him. They're just gonna back his play. I don't think anything bad's gonna come from this. They're gonna say, "Yeah, he killed a terrorist." Like, that terrorist just killed his best friend at the time, but who was another government agent, who was a freaking soldier, a US soldier. Like, I think the government's just gonna be like, maybe give him a slap on the wrist, like, "Maybe you shouldn't have done that with so many people watching," but I think they're gonna back him. I
I
don't
don't I see, I don't.
You don't think so?
I think that was the overwhelmingly I mean, it was
It's a
almost
great shot, by the way.
yeah, that's a horrific shot, but
Yeah.
tonally it's amazing. Um, I think you had so many people, I think they overplayed the fact that so many people were filming it because they were gonna play up how this image, this scene is going to play in the MCU universe. This is gonna be on everybody's screen across the entire world, and it's going to stain the image of the United States in a way that's almost
Well,
unfathomable
then why does Sam get the Stars and Stripes suit at the end?
because this is what brings Sam back. This is why Sam accepts the role and the responsibility. First of all, I think he always had some reservations about giving up the shield
Oh, yeah.
because Steve had in effect chosen him to
Mhm.
carry on the legacy or asked or wanted him to do it. So I think he was always torn just about that. But I think the bigger thing is that he feels it's going to be his responsibility or he's the one that can redeem or restore the legacy of what Steve has left because the legacy of Captain America, the idea of Captain America is now tarnished because of this act. And I
Yeah.
think Falcon is going to see it as his responsibility to help restore Cap's standing in the world, his reputation in the world, and not leave this be the lasting thought that people should remember all the good that Steve did and not have this mark on it.
Well, yeah, and that actually makes a lot of sense too, because you gotta look at it in a way of, like, maybe this is exactly why, Steve chose Sam instead of Bucky,
Yeah,
because, like, Bucky was a bit of a wild card.
yeah.
Like, Bucky could have very well done this type of
Mhm.
thing, and, like, not that he would, like, obviously, we know that he wouldn't have at this point, but you never know. The Wakandans, they backdoored his arm, so maybe they have a backdoor in his head too to be like, "If we need to trigger this boy, we can," like, I don't think they would do that because it would really
Yeah,
show that they are, like, some very devious people.
manipulative,
Yeah,
yeah.
that'd be a very bad thing. The arm, not a big deal, that's, like, funny because it's like, "We gave you the arm, we'll take the arm."
Well, and the arm
Like
could have also just been like You know, that could be an emergency failsafe if his arm ever got stuck in anything or something. You know,
Yeah.
there's a number of different justifications for why the arm detaches a certain
But they
way, but
never told him that he
that's
could take
true.
it off that way,
That's
though.
very
So
true.
that was
They
the
did build their own it
yeah.
was their own failsafe,
That was
sure.
their own little deviousness there. But I get that, though. It's like, because that's the thing, like, they show in the beginning, which was a great scene as well, with him and Io and him,
God,
doing the, the code words to see if he was
yeah.
actually healed from it and everything. And, this was a great scene. I forget what my even train of thought was looking for this at this point.
Well, I think we were just talking about how Bucky could have done something like what what's his name or the new Cap,
U.S. agent John
U.S. agent
Walker.
John Walker. How he was
He's
a wild
given
card and he could have
he's
done
given
something.
some good scotch a bad name.
Yeah.
All right. I'm like, this is not what happens when you drink Johnny Walker. Johnny Walker's, it's not really my scotch of choice, in all honesty. I typically just get the 20-year Doers. I think it tastes great. It's not as expensive as a Johnny Walker. You get a hell of a lot more in it. And, but it's giving Johnny Walker a bad name.
Yeah.
Like, it's giving Johnny Walker a bad name. I think it's funny that they, I wonder if they intentionally did that when they made the character, like named him like after the whiskey.
Possibly.
Like,
Yeah.
it's just, I don't know, it's funny though. Because they had John Walker, and then they, like I said on last week's show, they were calling the Battlestar Bucky or Buck for short.
Yeah.
And it's like that was a racist like slander back in the, so they had to change calling him Buck.
Yep.
So it's like you had Buck and then you had the whiskey. I don't know, this was funny. What was my point with this though?
Well, I think you were talking about
Oh,
we were
like
talking
in
about
this
Sam
scene,
redeeming
yeah.
it and why he chose
But he didn't
Sam.
have the arm on in the scene, did he?
No, I don't
Because
think
that's what
so.
I was thinking. Like maybe they had that on there
In
to where
case.
if they, when they were going through these trials here to see if he was cured, like let's make sure that in case this don't work, we can at least take the arm off.
Yeah.
Like, at least he's then a one-armed super soldier and not a one vibranium armed super soldier,
Yeah.
which is like arguably worse than just a super soldier. Like,
I think I like my personal interpretation of it is, look, we're providing him with this new arm. We're providing him with this. He's our responsibility in a way. So we need a way to take him to help stop him if something does happen. Like they would never put a weapon out into the world. They would never put a piece of technology out into the world that they didn't have a way of counteracting, because they feel it's their responsibility to take it on. I like that much more than hey, you know, we're being sneaky and backdooring this
yeah,
into
yeah,
here.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right, absolutely. I mean, this was a great scene, dude. This is why Winter Soldier, and like I said too, it's the characters that you care about.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That's the thing they've always done right. This is why Bucky and Winter Soldier has always been one of my favorite characters. Is partly just because Sebastian Stan's played him so damn well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and this scene was great. Like, you felt all of his pain and everything he was going through. Like, because like he said it before, like when Tony in Civil War was like, "Do you remember them?" And he's like, "I remember all of them."
Yeah.
And then like you see that play through in the first episode of this when he's going through his, making amends list and stuff. Like he does remember all of them, and it does, eat him up inside. And Sebastian Stan, he just plays it so well.
Well, and
He plays it so
this
well.
scene is the beauty of this entire universe that they've built. This scene is what, a couple minutes, 3
Mhm.
minutes into the film, into the show, and it's only a 3-minute film, but it hits like a ton of bricks because there is so much story and so much back history, and they've woven it all together so perfectly. It just shows when this stuff is done well, how impactful, how much, you don't need big, long, drawn out things in shows. You can do it in just a couple minutes, and you have all that history, and you can really, you know, have an emotional scene or
I mean, it's because you care.
yeah,
Like
you
you care.
care.
You care.
What did Darcy say? I'm
Yeah,
invested.
she was invested. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So but they did. This is what Marvel does so well. I mean, they did it through WandaVision. They had these little scenes dealing with like Wanda's grief and stuff, and it's just
What is grief if not love persevering? Great line.
Yep.
Great line. But yeah, man, Sebastian Stan's great. He's just he plays. I do miss the hair. I think he looks Winter Soldier looks good with the hair. I miss the
Yeah.
costume, honestly, too. I like the mask, the Mortal
Oh yeah.
Kombat mask. I think he looked cool as hell.
Yeah.
Like, and is now he does just kind of look like a dude. Like he doesn't really
Well,
look.
and we'll see what we'll see. Well, I guess we've already gotten a clue as to what he might look like at the end based off some of the toy releases, but
He's just
we'll
wearing the same outfit that he's wearing
we'll
in like
see what
now.
his role is. I think we're this show is kind of dealing with him figuring out where he belongs. Obviously, it was when he's talking with the doctor at the beginning of. I don't think he says in the beginning of the series like I went from being this assassin to having just a moment of peace in Wakanda to being blipped out and going right back into a war for all of existence. Like
Yeah, right.
I haven't had a time to figure out who I am. So we might by the end of this find out that he feels like he needs to be a part of the Avengers and might end up adopting a costume, or maybe further down the line he decides that after he's established a life for himself. But I think we're still kind of in this transition phase for uh Bucky.
True. I am curious if he's going to get a costume though, because the toy leaks came out for like Hot Toys, for instance.
Sure.
They announced the Winter Soldier figure for the show, and it's just the blue vest. It's
The
a
coat,
jacket, but he ripped the arm off.
yeah,
It's just that.
yep.
So it kind of indicates he doesn't get a super suit. But then they've been withholding Hot Toys in particular has not released the Falcon thing yet. Maybe just because we're not done with it, but we've seen from the Marvel Select, like Hasbro line, the Falcon and Winter Soldier for this show. I think we talked about like 2 weeks ago. The leaks came out that like he has the red, white, and blue suit
Yeah.
and the shield, like, and it's branded for the show, like Falcon. So like we know he gets the new super suit at the end, the Captain America suit. So yeah, I don't know. I'm curious if it doesn't seem like Bucky's gonna get any change with it at the end. Because I don't think in the end, I don't think Bucky actually really wants to do this stuff.
No,
Like he's just like he's there. There are
he has
motivations for this as personal ties to this because it all ties to Sam and the Shield.
yeah,
So like he has
he has a sense of duty.
yeah for this, but like
Yeah.
and then obviously, if the freaking world was ending again, like he'd be there, but I don't think he's gonna be playing a role like Steve did, like going out on missions all the time. Like I'm sure if Sam asked him to, then he would help him. But
Yeah.
like, and if Thanos came and like he'd definitely go help. But I don't think this is something Bucky doesn't want to be a superhero. It's like I don't think so anyway.
I
Doesn't seem like it.
Yeah, and I guess I'm thinking that like we may not see the end. He may redon his mask or something. There may be a threat in the future in a future Avengers film where he dons an outfit, a more classic superhero outfit that he doesn't quite have right now because he's needed for some big fight later on. We'll see.
Right. I'm curious if like they're ever gonna because we know this is a big serial, right? This has been going on for 11, 12 years almost at this point, right?
Hmm.
I'm wondering if there comes a time where, yeah, assuming Sebastian Stan still even wants to do these movies, it come time, but if we'll see him in the red, white, and blue.
Yeah.
Like I think honestly we'll probably see Chris Evans in the red, white, and blue again before we see Bucky in the red, white, and blue.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I'm just curious because because that's what kind of like I said we were talking off camera. In the world they've set up here in the MCU, just like Zemo has had the character motivation of explicitly not wanting anything to do with super soldiers, so it made sense for him to immediately just destroy the serum. Um, what the hell was my train of thought? Bucky has been set up to where like he couldn't really ever put on the Captain America persona. Like he's done so much bad stuff that everybody knows he's done.
Hmm.
Granted, he got the pardon for helping with Thanos and Endgame and all that stuff, and like he's obviously able to prove that he was mind controlled by Hydra, so it really wasn't like his intent to do all these things. But the public knows of the Winter Soldier, so it's more of a public persona thing. Anyway, like a
Sure.
marketing thing for Captain America. Like they rolled John Walker out, and they were like 3-time Medal of Honor winner, like or a recipient, not winner, but a recipient, and like all this, and that. And it's like they're not gonna. You bring out like the previously the Winter Soldier, the greatest assassin ever. Like, he's our new Captain America. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they don't want that. Like,
Yeah.
despite it being like not necessarily him or his fault, it's not good marketing. Now, at this point, given what John Walker has done, it would have been better. Hindsight, 2020. But either way, let's address this just because this scene came up here chronologically. I think this scene, there's obviously been a rumor going around that Sharon Carter is the power broker, right? I'm not the
Yeah.
only person to say this. It's been a thing. A lot of people have been theorizing it. They've kind of left a little like, they had a couple scenes here and there that kind of indicate she's definitely into something more than freaking illegal art dealing,
Yeah.
in my opinion. And I think this scene, the first one was after they went and killed the scientist, and then like she got in the car, she had her own driver for one, but then she said like, we've got bigger things to worry about or something. That was, I think, our first kind of indication to like maybe there's definitely something more going on here. But in this scene, she's walking down this freaking alleyway, there's like a roadblock of things, and there's just tons of armed men here that know exactly who she is. It makes it seem like she's in charge of all these people. I don't In what world does an illegal arts dealer like need this much firepower? You know what I mean? It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Like unless she is definitely more than just an illegal arts dealer, and then not to mention she's like she owns a couple satellites
Yeah.
apparently at this point. So it's like it's either she's working with the government still in some capacity, and this is all some big cover. Like maybe she's even working for old man Steve Rogers at this point. Like who the hell knows? But I don't think she's just an illegal arts dealer. So I think this episode lent the most credence to her actually being the power broker, in my opinion. I'm not buying into that. Like, don't go out there and say, Rob said, like, this is it. Like, no, I'm not saying that. I don't think she's Mephisto. I don't think she's Nightmare, but she very well may be the power broker. You think she's the power broker? You think like I am that this one lent more credence to it, or
I mean, I understand, I mean, the theories, and yes, there's clearly seems like an awfully big show of force for just an arts dealer, an illegal art dealer. Um, I personally hope that they don't, because I think as they kind of established early on when she first came back, was she was kind of done dirty by not only the government but also the Avengers. She was kind of left hanging out to dry. If all the if Steve Rogers ever did anything wrong during his career, this was probably making sure that she was not taken care of and wasn't left out in the
bit
lurch.
of an oversight?
Yeah, was what was probably one of his biggest miscues. Um, so I hope that that doesn't translate into her being, because the power broker seems to have no compunctions about just wiping people out.
Well,
Just
they've just been verbal threats, though. We actually haven't seen
I
him do
thought when they
anything.
showed up, I thought the whole power brokers guys, when they showed up the first time to get the woman on screen right now, and
Enfys Nest,
yeah, when they
Carly
first
Morgenthau,
Holly?
Carly,
Carly, thank
Carly
you. I don't know why I
Morgenthau.
can't remember her name. When they first showed up to get Carly, remember she sent the guy out to delay them so that the rest of them could get away, and the power brokers men just got out and killed him. I mean, there was no, it wasn't even like they just were straight up, they just straight up killed him to get to them. So I think it was established that they don't have any, her and at least her organization, or I'm sorry, I say her, the power brokers organization doesn't have any issues with just wiping people out if they need to.
Well, neither does the CIA,
True,
which
but
is what she did.
your motivations behind that, one is trying to ensure world peace or whatever. I think it would be interesting. We haven't seen Nick Fury in a while, and I know he's supposed to be coming back with the
Yeah, maybe she's working for him.
exactly. I know he's supposed to be coming back with the Secret Invasion storyline and show later on. But it'd be interesting because
The
at some
thing is,
point,
he dusted too, and he hasn't been back for very long either. So, like, how could she like? You know what I mean? Like, he would have gotten her pardoned at this point. Like, Nick Fury would obviously not be,
But
he's
is Nick
not.
Fury involved with the government anymore?
Well, he's part of Sword.
Or is he running his own organization now?
We don't. I guess it's been kind of a gray area. It seemed like he was with Sword, but it also was because remember at the end of Captain Marvel,
Captain Marvel,
he's
he's
up
on the
in the
ship.
ship,
Yeah.
and everyone assumed that was Sword, but then WandaVision comes out. So, and was it Sword?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, was he just chilling with the Skrulls in general? Because that's what at this point it seems like he was just chilling with the Skrulls.
Well, and is
Like,
Sword part of the U.S. government? Is that, are we supposed to? Because Shield
that's
was
what
an
it seemed like. Yeah.
international
Yeah, because what's her
conglomerate.
name? Monica Rambeau's mom, like spun up Sword, and she was
Yeah.
a pilot in the Air Force.
Okay.
So yeah, it's just a government thing, kind of like Shield was to some degree. But yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. They really haven't given us a lot of answers on that. But
Hmm.
Nick Fury, I don't know. Like, if he would have like, because she didn't get dusted. So
Yeah.
she's been here this whole time. That's why she was able to get all this power. He did get dusted. So like, I don't know. It honestly, just knowing that kind of lends more credence to the power broker thing. Just
Hmm.
because like Nick Fury would like, how would she be working for Nick Fury if he was gone?
Yeah.
You know, and even his second in command, Maria Hill, was gone too.
Yeah.
And then she was working with Shield at the time, but then Shield got disbanded, and then who the hell knows?
Hmm.
Like, I don't know. I feel like the power broker. Let's put it this way: if it's not Sharon Carter, do you think it's going to be someone that we know, or do you think it's going to be like just kind of this ambiguous role that they're just giving like a name to it?
I don't know. My preference would be they'd be kind of just. I don't know that we need the oh my god, it's this person moment.
The engineer moment.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
I don't know that. I mean, I don't want to just see the same actors and characters be recycled in new roles throughout. I like they do such a good job with establishing new characters and stuff. Like, I'm perfectly fine. It does make sense if it ends up being Sharon. At least story wise, they've established why it would be the case, and it makes sense. And
Yeah.
I'm fine with it. I'm not saying but I just because again, like I mentioned, that's the one thing that maybe Steve did wrong in his time as Captain America was not ensuring that she and she seems
Not
to
just
be
Steve too, like everybody. I
sure
feel she
everybody
was a
forgot about
huge
it.
oversight
Sure.
by the Avengers and the US government. Like I said, they gave the Winter Soldier a pardon,
Yeah.
but they like somehow Sharon Carter just got forgotten.
Yeah.
Like it's a kind of a huge oversight on it, which honestly there's one kind of like inconsistency in some ways because I feel like they don't just forget about you. Like, I mean, I know you're just a cog in an infinite wheel of like corruption. In all honesty, it was which was going on in this world at the time. But like, I feel like it's just like that's how they're explaining her absence, and like we're giving her this story because it kind of fits. Because it honestly, if you really think about it, is like, would it really have happened that way in real life? Like, would it really have gone down that way? It like I don't know.
Yeah. I mean,
It's kind of a stretch, but it's also a comic book thing, so you just kinda go
well,
with
and
it.
but you also have to remember too that all happens in Civil War, and then by the end of Civil War, Cap and the other. I think what would have been made more sense or been more likely would have been if Cap had invited Sharon Carter into his, for lack of a better way to put it, secret Avengers group.
Yeah, for sure.
If she would have been part of that group of characters that were working outside the law on their own for such a long period of time.
That would've made more sense.
Um, so yeah, I mean, but I guess in the scheme of things, like if she went underground and hid from not just the government but Cap as well, maybe I don't know. There's enough justification there, and I'm not such a stickler that I'm gonna
Yeah, it's just a small thing.
yeah
Like, in the real world, I don't think it would've worked out that way, but it's fine, and it makes sense for this. It's really no different than the retconning of Zemo, like, it's fine.
yeah
It's like, it's working, and it's fine. I'm curious to see where it goes, but another fun thing to note is that in this scene, this is the guy that inevitably gets killed by U.S. agent. I don't know if we're gonna call him U.S. agent at this point, but who knows? But in this scene here, he talks about how he used to idolize Captain America and he used to like look up to the shield and all that stuff, and then
Yeah.
he gets killed by that shield.
A little foreshadowing, maybe.
Yeah, it's a little poetic in a way, not in a
Yeah.
good way, but it is. And then with Carly as well, I feel like this scene with her and Sam, I think was like the best we've seen of Sam Wilson's character
Oh,
the
yeah, I
whole time.
love that they tied that back into his work with,
Yeah.
PTSD and soldiers returning home, like, that was such a brilliant way to justify his desire to reach out to her on his own.
It made sense.
Yeah.
Again, just like with Zemo, he's maintaining his character motivations and everything. It's consistent, and
Mhm.
this is consistent as well. He's just like, this is what I did for years, like this is it. So like it made sense, and he was able to appeal to her in some way too. So I liked that. And then she kind of went and took it a bit too far when she called his sister and threatened his nephews and stuff. Because as you see, he met her as Sam Wilson here,
Yeah.
but then later he met her as Falcon.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and there's a reason for that. Like, and he's just like she gone too far at this point. And then I gotta bring this up too, because like, obviously we have the scene where she drops the serums and stuff. And our boy Zemo starts breaking the serums. And then John Walker gets the one. Of course, there was one. One there. I wonder, do you think there's any more? Do you think that was the one?
It's gonna be interesting. I was wondering if Falcon would be accidentally, I don't know what, given the serum at some point.
Or
Yeah,
someone does it in his sleep or some
I'm
shit?
exact. Well, yeah, and now I'm kind of curious going forward if something's going to happen where he's going to get it some way. Because I think that might be coming, but I think maybe this is the only one that's left. I think he might get it a different way, which I won't go into because it kind of ties into something that happened in the comics that not everybody may know about.
Well,
So
this is spoilers. This is
okay,
spoiler
well,
discussion.
I mean, in the comics, one of the ideas about how one of the young Avengers, Patriot, gets his powers is he's given a blood transfusion from his grandfather, who
Mhm.
was the original Captain America, the first African American Black Captain America, and he gets his powers because he gets this blood transfusion. So I'm wondering if maybe Sam at some point requires a blood transfusion. If he tries to go up against John Walker solo and ends up getting hurt, maybe Bucky has to give him a blood transfusion to help save his life. Or if there is more, I mean, I guess it could be more serum out there or something, but I do wonder if they're going to try or if they're going to have him be, a new cat. Because I think we're pretty clear it's going to head in that direction with him being the new cap. And
Mhm.
it's just a question of whether or not he has the powers or not.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, because that's the thing too. Like, he straight up told Zemo like, no, he wouldn't take it.
Yeah.
But with him, kind of like with what Zemo was saying, one of his things that he was saying was like, when you take the super soldier serum, like eventually you become a John Walker kind of person. Like that's kind of what he was like getting at. Was like the serum kind of takes control over you. Then he brought up like, yeah, but what about Steve Rogers?
Yeah.
And then Zemo even said like, touche. Like
Oh, there's only one Steve
there's
Rogers
only,
too, yeah.
which is why Steve Rogers is Captain America. That's the whole point. But in the end, this could kind of, I don't know, show because like Bucky's obviously a wild card in there too. Like Zemo's not here trying to kill Bucky. Like he's trying to kill every other super soldier, but like he obviously knows that Bucky is kind of on the same vein as Steve Rogers.
Yeah.
Because it's like he's fine, and he is fine. He's a good guy. Like he's not a bad guy. Like he got brainwashed to do bad things. So there is evidence that not everyone would just go off the deep end with the serum, and I'm wondering if like that would kind of be a crux to give like Sam more, lenience into taking it because it's like a means to an end, like kind of like with Zemo, like was he going to take it so that he could stop super soldiers better by becoming
Mhm.
one? Like if Sam, he kind of gets in his head and says, well, Steve chose me and like so maybe I won't turn into that and like does it anyway. Like I don't know. But he said no, so I'm curious to see what would happen. Like the blood transfusion thing is definitely possible. I don't know.
I also kind of wonder too. Zemo, I love the characterization of Zemo in this show. He's like a master strategist. He's playing everybody. He's got all these different angles that he's playing up. Like, they all get in the fight there at the end, and he's handcuffed, and they come back, and of course he's gone because he's been playing up and planning all this stuff. Um,
Obviously.
I like the idea that maybe somewhere down the line, Zemo, like maybe when they were in that shipping container with the guy who developed the serum, maybe he found a vial or found the way to make the serum. And so maybe Zemo goes off on his own and creates more of the serum. And then maybe he injects Falcon or injects Sam as a kind of like, just to be like, you owe me like this. Like, you may not have wanted it, but you need it, and I'm the one that's responsible for you having the ability to be who you need to be or whatever.
Mhm.
Just as a further way to manipulate the people in the world around him. I think would be an interesting concept too if that ends up playing out.
Yeah. Well, the only thing is though too, like John Walker's just one guy, and he's just one guy as a super soldier. Falcon's got Bucky, who is a super
Yeah.
soldier. So Bucky would have to be taken out of the equation in order for Falcon to like have to go up against John Walker by himself. John Walker is not up to the task of taking out both of them at the same time. It's not going to
No.
happen. He'd
No.
get his ass kicked, 100%. This was also a great scene too.
Well, I think he get his butt kicked by Bucky alone, and
Oh yeah,
maybe
Bucky would destroy him.
yeah.
Like,
And,
if
and he
doesn't
would have gotten
destroy
his butt kicked by Falcon before he had the serum
yeah.
in him. So
Yeah.
I think it's still a close fight between the two of them.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I mean, even this was a good scene too because it just kind of helped you. Like, this is when you knew he was gonna take the serum after this. When the Dora Milaje came in and just whooped everyone's ass,
I love
took his arm off.
I love the line, "Wherever the Dora Milaje are is where they have
Yeah,
jurisdiction."
right.
That was just awesome.
Which is funny because that's totally my instant, like the thing that went right into my mind was just like, because U.S. agents said that like you don't have jurisdiction here, and it's like neither do you.
Yeah.
Like, you're not in America right now,
Yeah.
dude. Like, what are you talking about? Like, so it was funny that they said that because that's totally a line that Great Value Cap would have said. It's like Captain America has jurisdiction wherever Captain America is, like so it was kind of funny in that regard.
Yeah.
But yeah, they whooped his ass. They whooped all their asses. And then he even says like they weren't even super soldiers,
Yeah.
like all sad.
Poor little guy.
Yeah, but yeah, then we had the arm scene. That was good stuff. Just taking that off with the pressure points. That was good. And then Zemo gone. Wonder where he went. I'd be interested to know if he maybe did the thing you said with the serum might be like maybe he did keep it but broke it for no one was watching, so I don't know what. It's like maybe if he broke them for show, but then kept one.
Yeah.
But at the same time, no one was watching, so there wouldn't really been a point to that. I don't know. No, I definitely I was on the fence of whether or not he'd end up taking it or not, though, and he obviously
Oh,
didn't.
definitely. Yeah. When he picked up and was holding it there for that beat.
Yeah, I was like, well, this is it. Like, and then this is so funny, dude. I was watching. I have to bring this up because like it was painfully obvious that he took the serum here. Okay, they telegraphed it in many different ways. And I think I was talking to Rick about this on stream before you got on this past Friday. I was watching another show where they were talking about this and stuff, and people were like literally writing in and saying like, "Do you think John Walker took the serum? Like I think he may have." They literally did like somehow it wasn't clear to them that he took the serum. It was like someone said like, I think John Walker may have taken the serum. He jumped out of that building and it didn't hurt him. I'm like,
Didn't he knock a guy like through a
yeah,
wall
he
and like
literally kicked people 20 feet away from me, bent a steel bar around
Yeah,
someone's
exactly,
arm.
bending a
He
steel
threw
bar
the
on top of it.
shield into a concrete wall.
Yeah.
All of these things happened up before, and it's like that. Just the jumping on the car is what made you think that.
Yeah.
It's like they literally right when he bent the bar, Sam was right there and saw it happen, and he said, "What did you do?"
Yeah.
Like and like that was just like you knew right then he took the serum. Like you knew right then. Like, so I just thought it was funny. It's just like, guys, he obviously took the serum. Okay, he took the serum. That was the whole point. That's why he lost his shit at the end. Because this is exactly why Zemo doesn't want there to be super soldiers. This is living proof. Which, if you go back to Captain America: First Avenger, when Erskine, who made the first super soldier serum, he kept saying like his thing was like you don't want the best trained person to do. It's got to be someone who's like pure of heart.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it won't corrupt them. The
Yeah.
power won't corrupt them. That's not like their end game is having power. When you have like this is what you get, like 9 times out of 10, if you just give it to the most powerful person in the room. Like the power kind of consumes them. Look at Thanos. It's the same concept.
Yeah.
But this was good though. I think though, in the end, since we've made it full circle now to the end scene here, the end of it again, we'll watch the pipe bend. Yeah, because right here, he kicked him like 30 feet down
Yeah.
the steps. And
Oh,
then
yeah.
like literally right, and he's just like, dude, like, and he's just throwing him like nonchalantly like 15 feet. Like,
Oh, yeah.
and he's looking all pissed off, like, it just is what it is. But damn it, what was my point? Completely forget what I was gonna say. I don't know. I don't remember anymore. I loved this episode though in the end. I thought
Oh,
it was
yeah.
great, dude. I thought it was really good. And like the only other thing I gotta bring up too is just like people keep saying like, oh, we only have 2 more episodes left, and by 4 episodes in, we still had 5 episodes of one. It's like these episodes are twice as long. We've had just as much content as WandaVision, and they're just twice as long. This
Sure.
episode was 53 minutes long, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah,
Yeah.
53 minutes long. That's with credits, but either way, so it was like 48 minutes of, WandaVision episodes are sometimes 22 minutes. Like I don't know. I think the pacing of this show is far and away better than the WandaVision, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It fit for WandaVision, but like, dude, as I've said it before and I'll say it again. Every time I watched WandaVision, I was like just getting into it. The show just picked up and then the credits rolled. Like every time. With this, it's like I remember like halfway through this one, or maybe a little over halfway, but not 3/4 of the way through. I was like, this is really good, dude. I hope it's not like about to end. And then I hit up to see how much was left, and there was still like 20 minutes. I was just like, oh yeah, this is good. I got 20 more minutes. This is
Yep.
good. Like, oh, I'm loving the pace of it. So I'm hoping that Loki is the same way. Like, because that's the one thing we haven't been told is like how long the Loki show, like how many episodes are in it, and how long the episodes are going to be. Still a big question mark. The only other thing that was kind of like poetic with this scene is that he ends up killing the guy with the same move that Steve Rogers did not kill Tony with in Civil War.
Yeah.
Like at the very end of Civil War when they were fighting, he had the shield up and he was beating him. He broke the arc reactor stuff on his chest, but then he threw the shield down. He stopped. He did not. And this was not Iron Man. This was just a dude who didn't actually kill his friend, who he was, which was his main motivation at this point. He was just mad. But again, I think the government's going to back him. Like, I think they're going to just say he killed a terrorist. Like, yeah, it was bad. Maybe he shouldn't have done it in public. But I think that's honestly, that conversation is going to happen behind closed doors. He's going to get like a scolding from the teacher about doing this in public in that way. But ultimately, they're not going to like reprimand them in any sort of negative way. They're going to make public statements saying that like the man he killed was a terrorist. This was in the heat of battle. It was like wartime kind of thing. He just killed the person he just killed had just killed his friend, even though it wasn't the same person. That's what they're going to say to give credence to his actions in the public eye. That's what I think is going to happen.
Yeah, I don't. I think the optics of this are just too bad.
You think so?
I think. I mean, look at him. He's standing over. He was standing over a helpless person, an unarmed helpless person. Super soldier aside, because
It was a super soldier.
he's wearing a super soldier costume. Whether or not the public knows he's a super soldier or thinks he's a regular guy, he's standing over a guy in a super soldier costume with the super soldier costume on, and he just straight up murders him. So the optics of that are going, while yes, the government may want to brush that aside. And also, in addition to that, I think you have to have a reason that the government gives Sam the costume or makes Sam, and I think the government gives Sam the costume to distance itself from this specific act.
I don't know. I honestly think this whole thing will wrap up, like, whatever they do with this. I don't think he actually gets the suit until, like, the story arc is gonna happen, and this is the last episode, the last 20 minutes, they're wrapping everything up, right? Maybe setting things up for the future and stuff, and they're gonna skip time. Like, they're gonna do a skip ahead,
Hmm.
like 6 months later or 1 year later, and then you're gonna see Falcon flying through and then landing somewhere with the red, white, and blue suit. I don't think it's actually gonna be a part of this arc. I think it's
I
gonna
think you
be
have
the crux of it all at the end.
I think you have Rhodey come back to him and say, "Hey, look, they know they screwed up, and they need you. They need you to be Cap. Steve needs you to be Cap." And
Do you think
to get,
Steve shows up and then makes him do it? Old man
it would
Steve?
be shocking to me if they did. I
If
also don't.
anybody could convince him, it'd be him.
Sure, I just don't know. Yeah, definitely. I just don't know I don't know that there's enough story time left to explain all that. Like, who develops the time machine? Do they go talk with Banner, and Banner rigs up the time machine to send somebody back to get Steve to come get him?
Well, no, this could be old man. We know old man Steve's here. He met him on the park bench. Like, he just exists.
So you think Old Man Steve exists in this?
That's how it was set up.
I guess I kind of assumed Old Man Steve went back to his timeline, that he came back to give him the shield. And
Oh no, because they've even said, like, the writers, McFeely and Marcus and McFeely said that, like, the end game time hopping thing, like, they never really developed the rules, like, and logistics behind it, because Old Man Steve directly conflicts with what they set up before, to where they make the branch realities.
Yeah.
Because they even said, like, at the end, like, he was just there on the park bench because he knew they were going to be there at that time. So that was old man Steve. Like, he lived his life and just came to the park bench. Like, so, like, he didn't take the time machine to get there. He was just there.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You know what I mean? So, like,
he's just time caught up with him, and
exactly.
Okay.
That's how, which directly conflicted with what they set up before, but they've admitted that. Like, the writers admitted it. It's like they foregone, like,
Well, Steve
the plot.
Steve created a new branch by going off, and we're now on this branch, right? Steve created a new branch by going off, live with Peggy.
Yeah, but by virtue of that, he wouldn't have been there on the bench, because he would have been in that other timeline.
Okay.
You know what I mean? That's where
the time travel headache is starting
the problem.
to kick in.
Exactly. But either way, at the end
You're
of
right.
Endgame, we're led to believe, based on what the movie showed us, not the rules they set up, but literally what the scene is, that Old Man Steve is there. Like,
he still exists in this universe.
He's there somewhere.
Yes.
He was there to give him the shield, so he's still there. So unless he died or something, which I'm sure we would have freaking known about at this point, like maybe he shows up just to give him another little pep talk. Like, you gotta do, because at this point too, that would mean, you know what is weird about that I just thought of? This is another thing that doesn't make sense. They had Peggy's funeral in Civil War, so why would Old Man Steve have waited until the end of Endgame to show himself? Well, I guess because he just did all the other stuff.
Yeah. I mean, he
was still his young
he's
person.
Still his younger
This is
persona.
a time
is still
travel
there.
problem, dude. It's a time travel problem.
Yeah. Well,
Time travel
and the
paradox.
idea is, I think the idea is that the events of Peggy's funeral happen in a different branch. Once Steve goes back and starts living with Peggy, that creates a whole new branch of the timeline.
Right.
And so that's the branch that we're on now, or the universe that we're on now. I don't know.
That's the problem, is that would have been its own thing, and then, because Steve would have never came back. But they had Steve show up to hand off the shield.
I also, in my head, I'm perfectly fine saying that Old Man Steve lived all the way up on his branch, on his Peggy timeline branch, and then when he hit the time where he needed to come back and give the shield back to Sam.
Just
He
hopped in the
found
machine.
he found Bruce Banner or whatever. He went to this park where they had just sent him from and said, "Hey guys, I need you to send me back to my original timeline. We've actually been living in a branch." I'm fine in my own head justifying
Yeah,
it that
it's
way
fine
just to
too.
make it more simple, but
Well, that's the
yeah.
thing that's always was so weird about him doing that and them saying that it would create an alternate reality is because so you're telling me he goes back and starts this whole new life with Peggy and just doesn't be Captain America the whole time? Like, he lets all the events unfold,
The way that, yeah.
but doesn't help?
Sure.
Like, it's odd. It doesn't make any sense. But either
Sure.
way, who cares? We got the scene was just there to pretty much just set this stuff up more than anything. Like, it
Mhm.
served the purpose, and it was a way to give Chris Evans a send off, even though he's already coming back for something. That's the thing too. We have news that Chris Evans was coming back, even though he came out and said, "News to me." Pretty sure he was just playing coy with that at this point. But like, could have been this. They could have shot that quick old man Steve thing for it. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Who knows? We'll just have to wait and see. I'm looking forward to it, though. We got 2 episodes left. So, you got anything else you want to add on this one?
No.